a holographic will, is a handwritten will, okay, and it will be, if it's properly executed, they will accept it. But this may become a source of challenge in the court when there is a handwritten and there are no witnesses to say whether this person was actually who wrote this will or not. Changing a will is very simple, and revoking is very simple. You can revoke your will anytime you want. You can destroy it, you can burn it, you can write another will and revoke the previous, all of them. This is the Islamic law. So far we were talking about the Sharia and the state laws. Now we'll look at it. What is the law of inheritance in Islam? How does it work? Why is it so complicated that the majority of the people, when they started to read any book on it, they give up after reading 2 or 3 pages? First, look at the overview of Islamic will. What are the contents of the will are? Well, we need to have a template. A template which is written professionally, reviewed by the scholars and the lawyers to make sure it contains the language which is a legal language. And it doesn't have any errors. And the English is really not a verbatim translation from another foreign language. Like Urdu to English, we lose the meaning sometimes. We have to have total assets. We have to have the debt and obligation, and then bequests are the gift that they are allowed up to 1/3 to be given to those who are not entitled to receive any share. And of course, last but not least, is the share to be calculated and given to those who are entitled to it. What it contains many articles or clauses. And what we have in there is a template that will take all this article and put it in a way that it makes it very easier for people to fill in the blanks in order to prepare their own specific will. I'm not going to go in every article because we have other things to talk about it, but basically it has a personal information. It has a testimony of faith and advice to the one we are leaving behind when we die. We have our directive on our funeral and our burial, and we advise to pay all our debt and expenses. Appointment of executor is very important, and the guardian of minor children is another thing. Liability in that has to be paid. Obligation to Allah is supposed to be fulfilled if we have not performed them. And charity to the organization and non-here as a sadaqah jariyah. Then the Article 5th is the distribution of remainder of the estate. This class called the Article 6 arbitration. I put it in because I didn't find in many of the will template that are flying in the internet. You can go and download free. But I would advise you not to do that because it's not really reviewed and written from the point of perspective of the Sharia law and also the state laws. It is written by good people with a good intention to get it started, but it has many flaws. One of the things is the arbitration clause missing. What happens if there is a dispute among the heirs? They are disputing that, no, my share should be more or less or this and that. How do you do that? You go to the court, there will be a mess there. There's a lot of expenses by the court and lawyers. So arbitration clause says, and I checked with the lawyer, that you appoint the Muslim scholars who will make a decision, and their decision will be binding. And if they go to the court will say no. Whatever the arbitrary scholar and council have decided, they will uphold the law for you. Separate means that if something is not enforceable in the will, the rest will stand. Then common disaster clause, which I would say it means is that if we have a disaster, many people die together, like an airplane crash or a ship sank or fire somewhere, the people died in a house, then we have a challenge or a problem here. Who died first? How do we determine who died first? And if we cannot determine that, then we cannot have the inheritance law in Islam to be distributed, because one dies, his wealth goes to those who survive, And if that person dies, it goes to those who survive. But if they die all of them together, how are you going to distribute it? So that's covered in much more detail in my book there. And if somebody wants to read it, read the book called As-Sirajiyya. This is the book of Hanafi fiqh on inheritance. I got hold of a copy that was written in 1866, more than 150 years ago. The language is not very clear and not crisp. Somebody translated in English, so now you lose the essence of the Arabic when you translate into English, so you lose some of the thing in there. Then there is a British man in 1867 who wrote what you call explanation of some of the thing in this book. So that was he made more clear as what the intention of the scholars were. Calculated share is the last thing we do. Then we have signature is a very important part of it. The witnesses have to be there. Notarizing the will is not necessary, but it is strongly recommended by a lawyer to have one. And the self-proving affidavit is necessary, but not all the state will honor it. What it means is that if you have a self-proving affidavit, then the witnesses don't have to be produced later on in the court. This is what it's going to look like if somebody dies. These are all the relatives all around it, and you're going to have to decide who's going to get what share. I read the book of late Dr. Egyptian, who wrote the book on inheritance, and he has given a chart that will fill up the whole wall. When I look at it, I feel dizzy just by looking at it, let alone understand what's going on. This is a very subset of that. The heart of inheritance in Islam is the categories of heirs. Who gets what? And we will talk about, there are 3 in number. First are the Quranic heirs. They are mentioned in Surah Nisa, ayah number 11 and 12 and 176. They determine their share. There are 4 male and 8 females in there. They have fixed share. But then later on, some of the scholars also included those who were not the Quranic heir because of the similitude between them. And because having a similarity, they included in there. So when that happened, then they do not have the fixed share. Their share changes depending on who else was alive at the death of a person. The second categories are called the asaba. They are the male relative of the deceased. They get the residual, whatever left over giving to the Quranic heir, they get it. So I call them the secondary heirs. They get the residual, whatever left over. And then the third called Zul Arham. These are sometimes called uterine relations. They are actually distant relative because not all of them are uterine. Uterine means from mother's womb. So I found out that's not a good term, but classically everybody uses that term. Zul Arham means uterine because the word in Arabic is Arham, from the Raham, from the womb of the mother. But the distant relative is a better term because it includes everyone. Those are not in the first and second category. They seldom get the share. If there's nobody in the first category and there's nobody in the second category, then the third category can play. But it's very unlikely that everybody will be dead before you get to the third category. So here they are. They call Zul Farud, Asaba, and Zul Arham. They fixed share, residual share, and no share if there are first and second category, anybody is alive there. Now these are the person who is not going to have any right to inheritance. All step relationship, stepchild, stepmother, stepfather. Adopted in Islam is forbidden. It's not legal to adopt somebody and give your name to him. So the adoption doesn't mean that they are biological children. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, they come in the in-laws. The children of Zaya, born out of wedlock, convicted murderers of the testator are not entitled to receive a share, even though are very close relative to deceased. Non-Muslims do not get any share, and this gave me a very hard time that if somebody marries a woman of Ahl Kitab, means the Jewish or the Christian lady, she's not going to get any share in inheritance in Islam. This is a big problem. She can go to the court. I'm the spouse. And the court says you cannot exclude the spouse in your will, Islamic or non-Islamic. You cannot do that. Now we have to find a solution how to meet the requirement of the Sharia and also meet the requirement of the state. They are going, one is 180 degrees apart. How do you bring together? Alhamdulillah, after making lots of dua to Allah to find a way for me that we can bring it together. So I'll show you that later. So these are the people. Slaves, this is not applicable, so don't need to waste much time on that one, even though the book on inheritance in Islam will find a lot of pages on slavery. So religious obligation is unpaid zakat, hajj if you have not performed, fidya for missed days of fasting. I could not find anywhere any proof that somebody can compensate for the missed salah. So if you miss your namaz, can you give the money to somebody to perform on your behalf? Logically, it does not make sense. Take for my own examples. Let's say I'm a millionaire. I don't want to say salah. In my will, I will write it down to take my money and have somebody perform all my salah. Salah is such a personal thing that you can't dedicate it other to do it for you. Whereas performing hajj and miss salah are sanctioned by the Quran and the Sunnah. So we're okay there. But we are not okay, and a lot of people in a lot of books say that we can pay the money for unperformed salah that we have missed. Kafara, of course, you have to pay for that. Broken vow, and if you have not performed the udhiyah or qurbani, you can do that later on. Now, so we look at it, the whole universe of the heirs, who is entitled to a share. And I found that 90% are these people. What? We have grandfather, grandmother, father, mother, husband, wife, daughter, and son. Now, if we don't have a son, then the last category here on this slide, real brother and sister, gets share if there is no son. The son wipes out everybody. So we know that this is a good model and a good solution to present it to the people in North America, whether USA or Canada, to write their will and not to worry about the 10% millionaire. They can have their own solution. They have, lots of money to go to lawyers and go to the scholars and write their own will. Maybe they can make a living trust, revocable living trust. What is the order of priority in a will? Well, payment of the funeral, burial, and last illness expenses, payment of all debt, wasiya up to 1/3, and 2/3 remaining will go to the legal heirs. Gift or bequest, 1/3. It will go to the person who does not inherit anything under the Islamic law, and you should give it to the charitable Muslim organization who are working for the good purpose. You can give it the construction of Islamic school, other people who are building orphanages and other good work. The last 2/3 is distributed to the legal heir. Now, frequently I question, do I need a will? I think we already covered that, why we need a will. If we don't cover the nail, then the law of this country will take over. They will decide who will be the executor, who is going to be the guardian of minor children, how they're going to distribute, and what proportion. This funeral expenses should be paid first, before dividing the estate among the heirs. A bequest is nothing but is a gift, which is 1/3, and it cannot be given to those who are already getting a share. As a matter of fact, I saw the wisdom of the Prophet ﷺ here when I was reading this hadith, where one of the companion, when he got sick, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ came to visit him, and he said to the Prophet, "Ya Rasulullah, I want to give all my money as a charity." And Rasulullah said, "No." He said, "How about 1/2?" Rasulullah said, "No." Then he said, "How about 1/3?" He says, 1/3 is okay, even though it's still too much. So the Messenger of Allah stopped at 1/3. So the scholar take it, the maximum is 1/3. So this can be given. Now, if a Jewish woman does not get a share according to Islam, but they are entitled according to the state law, then we can take her share from this optional 1/3 and give it to her. Solve the problem. Alhamdulillah, I don't know the wisdom why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through His messenger, put this thing that one day, after 1437 years, Majid will be looking for a solution for a Jewish woman or a Christian wife. Alhamdulillah. Subhanallah. Who can inherit? Well, we already covered those three categories of inheritance. Who cannot inherit, we gave the list of already. Of course, we have to pay the missed fasting, zakah, kafara, meher, and hajj. Can a Muslim inherit from a non-Muslim? You already know. It's forbidden to inherit from non-Muslim. Can a non-Muslim inherit from a Muslim? No. Non-Muslim do not, even they are deceased close relative, including wife or Ahl Kitab. Can I choose my school of thought to calculate share? In my book, I have given you the choice of selecting your school of thought. Arba Mazhab, according to Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Hanbal, and Imam Malik. You can state which way you want. 99% of the time, it makes no difference which school of thought you are following. There are differences which are not going to impact 90% of the people. It is when there are some complicated Zul Arham Majid are present, then you have some difference of opinion between the scholars. But we're not concerned about that. How do we prepare meal? I'll show you how we will prepare it. But it's not going to be easy as straightforward as if you are filling a form. There's a lot of things has to be done. You can do it yourself, but make sure that somebody review it and know that you have done it correctly. So these are some steps to take it. You need to understand something about the law of inheritance in Islam. You have to comply with them. You must also comply with the state law. You should have an executor and a guardian in there and witnesses. And you now need to know how to divide the estate or the wealth. And for that you have, ISNA has a table of mawarith. You can use that. It is 17 pages long. Very complicated. Even I, reading 1 or 2 pages, I said, no, it's not going to make any sense to the people. Then, fortunately, Dr. Ayman Abu Mustafa of Egypt wrote a computer program which is available free of charge on the internet, and I have tested thoroughly and find no mistakes so far. And I talked to the guy many times and got his advice when I have some problem. So we can use that in order to calculate the share, which takes only few minutes to do it, rather than using the ISNA's table of mawarid that will take hours. So, how do you draft an Islamic will? The question is, one shoe does not fit all. Okay? You all have different shoe sizes, right? You're not going to make one size that will be good for everybody. So this is the same way for writing the will. It's not going to be the same for everybody. So I have given 4 choices here. First, if you are a multimillionaire and you have lots of money, you can have a revocable living trust, which means all your assets will be stamped as the property of the trust. So when you die, according to the instruction and the document in the trust, the money will be distributed. What you can do is to take the Islamic law of inheritance and put in the trust, so they will be distributed according to the Sharia. The next thing, simpler one, is my family will LLC. Now, say I mentioned it to you before that many of the assets are going to bypass the will and we want to stop them. This is the way to stop it. Because now you have made an LLC, a legal entity, which is very cheap, $100 to make an LLC over the internet. And then you put all the inheritance, those who are entitled to inheritance, as the shareholder. And you assign them the percentages exactly the way the inheritance law in Islam dictate. So we can have that. I'm going ahead of mine. Here is the revocable trust. I should have gone to the next one. In Islamic will testament, you need a template. You need either the table of mawaris or some computer program to do it. You should have a self-proving affidavit, so you don't need witnesses to appear in the court. And you should have a pour-over will. Pour-over will is nothing but say that if I forget something, it pours over and it catches everything that I forgot and it will go into the trust. Family will LLC, that I was just mentioning, it will be a family kind of a partnership, a limited liability company, in which your relatives who are entitled to shares are the shareholder, and they get the share according to the percentages in inheritance in Islam. Third, fourth, Islamic according to Islam. This is the simplest way to do it, to take a template and fill it out and follow these 4 steps. You have to have a template. I just wrote it down here, shown in chapter 8 of my book. But we have also a copy that I have copied from the book itself. Those assets that bypass the probate have a beneficiary. So how do we prevent the beneficiary to take over the wealth, where the Islam says, no, people do not get the wealth, they get their share, but they're not entitled to. So if you have insurance policy and you say, okay, my wife will get, if I die, of course she's going to get the money, but that's wrong. That money that comes in there is supposed to go into a inheritance according to Islam to be distributed. Here I said that there are 2 kinds of insurance policies. One policy is called the term life. The other one is the one that you pay the money and they pay you dividend on it. In other words, they will invest your money and then whatever the dividend and profit they have, they will give it to you. So I said that portion that you gave it to them as a policy holder, the premium that you paid, that plus the dividend that you get from them and profit that you give them, that's illegal in Islam, because that was your money, that was invested and you got it back. But the rest of them, the scholars don't agree that you take a life insurance today for $1 million and next week you die and you get the $1 million. The scholars say that that's not permitted. Some label it haram, but some of them says it all depends. Some says take the money and give it to charity, don't leave it. So there's a different opinion in there. Anyway, we take the middle course here. So what you do is that you assign your spouse as the executor and give her a letter of wishes. A letter of wishes is nothing but it says that I am assigning you as the beneficiary. So when you get that money, you distribute according to the Islamic law of inheritance. The last is for the people who are at the retirement age, right? They want to distribute their wealth while they are alive because they fear when I die there will be dispute among my family, my children, my wife, in-laws, and so forth. So they distribute in their lifetime and they keep a very small portion for the rest of the life. And whatever left over, it will go to charity at the end. Many people have done that. There's nothing wrong with that. You do it as long as you're following the Sharia and the laws in the Quran and the Sunnah. Also, it is important to have an inventory of your assets. I have had many wives from subcontinent, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. They have no idea what their husband were doing, where the money is, where they have invested, what they own, what they don't own. I have very heartbreaking story of a woman with 2 little children, about 4 and 5 years old, whose husband died in a picnic due to heart attack. In-laws took over everything. Even they took her car away saying, it belonged to our brother, it's not yours. She came to me for help because I do a lot of marriage conflict resolution and counseling also. Again, free of charge, Allah gives me the reward for that. And I solved their problem because I found out that it was easy. She was going to the lawyer and the lawyer said, $200-300 an hour just for consulting to find out whether your deceased husband has any property or share in a business. The simple solution was that I got a letter of authority from her, and I wrote to the IRS to say, give me the last 3 years of tax return. And there, if you have an LLC, they must have filed that. So we take 1029 and we look at it and who owns what share, their names and addresses, everything there. And then it was easy to follow up legally and get her share back to her. Alhamdulillah. Islamic will checklist, I'm going to skip that. Okay. My last appeal to you, do not put it off for tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. Today is today. When you wake up tomorrow, it's going to be today. It's not going to be tomorrow when you wake up. So tomorrow is just concept of what happened next, but it's always we live today. Every day we live today. So if you're going to say, I'm going to do tomorrow, it's never going to be done because you won't see tomorrow, philosophically speaking. Okay, all right. I can prepare you well if you want. I have the information here, and I also have some handout sheets that you have all my contact information and what and how it should be done. Thank you very much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you for you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Any questions?
I mean, I'm not asking the question because I'm great, but it's just the confusion of different bills that you have talked about. You being an expert and knowing the common Muslim living in America as a U.S. citizen, which one would you suggest that we, like for example, I was different, like people were saying you have a house in it, and we had debt and obligations, stuff like that. You were saying like you must, like you said the other, that you must prepare a will because supposing you die tomorrow, then the state takes over everything you have, whatever. So is it a good idea to get it done as soon as possible, an Islamic will or an Islamic family will or whatever? Which one would you with families that have 2-3 children or children? Which one would you suggest?
Let me go back to that slide where you see the 4 solution. Like I said, one solution doesn't fit all. So if you are a millionaire, my will is no good for you. You must go through a revocable living trust. A revocable living trust means that you are the owner in your life. You do whatever you want. You can spend all the money, spend your wealth, give it away, whatever you want. But once you die, that revocable living trust becomes irrevocable. Now it has to be distributed according to the terms and condition in the living trust. In the living trust, if you write it down, my wife will get this much, my son get this much, daughter get this much, and father, mother, grandfather, that will be done. So this is for that kind of group of people. But how many of us are multimillionaires? Not many. But I have the solution though, if they want to. The My Family Will LLC is another way to prevent the beneficiary to take all the money and not distribute. So we make a limited liability company. The shareholders are the heirs, and their percentage share are what the Islamic law says. Very simple, straightforward solution. I never thought of it. It took me 2 years to come up with this solution. So now this is very legal, and now probate court cannot do anything because you have a company called limited liability company, and it is distributing share to shareholders. That has nothing to do with the secular will or law. The Islamic will is the one that I have, which complying with the state and the state I got a state and a state. It should be Islamic and state laws. My typographical error. I did the slide just half an hour before I came here, so excuse me for being wrong here. So in this one, we have this thing called template. Then we have worksheet. The worksheet is the one who's going to drive this will. Okay? Who are your shares? That is one question. Then the second is how you're going to distribute it. So we have a computer program that will calculate for you. And the third thing is that we put in everything legal in there to make sure that it is meeting the state requirement and also meeting the Islamic requirement, both. And the last but least is that we made a flexibility in there that if somebody challenges in the court will not be able to decide because we have arbitrary clause in there which will be handled by the Muslim scholars and their decision will be binding in the court as well. The last one is that for the old people who don't have the much to do, or maybe the people who are scared that if I die, even if I have a will, somebody will be fighting over it, to let me give the money now, distribute according to the Sharia, and I'm done with it. You don't need witnesses, you don't need affidavit, you don't need anything because you already gave shares to everyone in your lifetime. So you decide what you want to do it. All four are good. They are all legal and binding and good one.
Just take one more minute. Question was, question was, me as a person who's still living and working, and I just to say that take over the state and not being ready with a will, just like they keep saying, you must have a will. Can I make a family will which would be better than the Islamic will? Because I think these are the two we have to choose from, for us.
Both are it's two ways of doing the same thing. I don't know your situation. I don't know your assets. I don't know your heirs and relatives. I cannot tell you which one will be correct. If you are a very simple will and don't have any complication and no legalities in there, then I would recommend to go to number 3. Because this is the one where I can help. I'm not going to be able to help you in 1 and 2. Because those are the legal entity that a lawyer has to create it for you. But there is a solution I provided, that how you do it, because the lawyer will not know anything about Islamic law of inheritance. So I give him all the material they needed, and they just write it up for you. Number 3 is the one I can do for, and I've done it for many people. It is very inexpensive, it is very quick, and it doesn't involve any kind of lawyers and all that. Yes, sir?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. Number 1, basically, you said that those bypassing items, like insurance, other plans, are subject to beneficiary. They are not part of the real living will. The last one, and not part of the last one, they are just a little copy.
You're talking about these? This slide? Okay. The 3 categories of heirs. Okay.
You just mentioned that those which has beneficiary designation, those will not be part of this last one. Those will be subject to other rules. Default, it will be part of that. Now, if they are family members, that shouldn't be an issue. Number 2, there are tax consequences. For example, the insurance policy, when it's supposed to benefit, is tax free. When you put in the will, LLC as beneficiary, your trust beneficiary is subject to excessive rules. So, what is your?
Okay. I think there's a good question. Let me say that there are categories of heirs, and let us understand that when the first category of heirs are alive, people alive, deceased don't get anything. Those are already in the Quran. Look at the Surah Nisa, ayah number 11, 12, and 176. It's not up to you to say who's going to get what. It is named by how much father gets, how much mother gets, how much son gets, how much daughter gets, how much grandfather gets. It's all named in there. So we have no authority to decide which relative is going to get what. But if those relatives that are mentioned in the Quran are not alive, because they died before us, then you go to Asaba, the second category, which is the male relative of the deceased. If both of them are alive, then the first category of the Quranic heir get their share, and whatever left over, it will go to the Asaba, which is really the residuary. Whatever is left over, they will distribute it. But by the time you get to the third category, Zul Arham, then nothing left. In 99.9%, you don't get that far. Because it's not likely that a person doesn't have a wife, a husband, a son, a daughter, grandfather, grandmother, brother and sister. If they're all dead, that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Nisa, ayah number 176, says, if the deceased is a kalala, the term kalala means he neither has ascendant nor descendant. Then how do you decide who's going to get there? So read that ayah and look at the Yusuf Ali translation and commentary on it, and you will find out that that situation, which is very rare cases, is also covered in the Quran. The second question probably is also a source of conflict, is that everybody makes his own will. There is no will that a husband and wife write together. Husband will have his own will because husband has his own relative. Wife also have relative. So husband's mother and father is not wife's mother and father. She has separate mother and father. So it will be distributed according to that. So there are no such thing as a joint will.
That context, husband, when you say parents are only by Islam. When you have no offspring, which means no kids. If you have kids, parents are free. We are here in a situation where we are away from parents. Most of them, some of those are parents. So I think the category you just spoke was exceptional. I know one where there's no single descendants. So let's not worry about that. As you said, theoretically speaking, 90% of the population comes from categories which where you have husbands for wife and kids. Parents either dead or parents are in Pakistan or India or wherever they are. So generally speaking, we can talk about that decision. So if I put my wife as a beneficiary, if I die and I give a list of Islamic distribution, if she dies, then case this much.
Right.
Is it okay?
Yes, absolutely. You have the good point here that you write it down, and she in her will also write it down who are entitled to their share. I do not use the term parents. I do not use the term children and grandchildren. They are a source of conflict. When I say children, I'm confusing my audience, because in Islam, a child can be a son or a daughter, male or female. And inheritance in Islam, the male gets double the share of the female. So I always use the son and daughter. I don't use children. I don't use parents either, because the mother's share is different than the father. Similarly, I don't use the word spouse, because I have to say whether it's a wife or a husband. Because if I say spouse, you don't know which one I'm talking about. Same way when I say child, you don't know whether it's a male or a female.
Last thing,
Okay.
you have a nice presentation. Can we have a kind of, possibility of looking at that, through a imam or through a president, anyway, to give us that formatted thing of what you call the template of that possibly experimented?
Template and everything is in this book.
The book.
This book is now being going through review by Dr. Ayman Mustafa, Sheikh Abdul Rahman Khan, Dr. Muzammil Siddiqui, Dr. Jamal Badawi, and other people. I wanted to make sure that it's covered by the scholars that I know personally. I know them when I was a child. They were my role model. They're older, I'm older too. But most of them, I know them personally, on one-on-one. Then I have lawyers who are also looking at to make sure this is correct. So you can see in my book, there's one attorney in Oak Brook, Illinois, that she is reviewing it. And she's looking at it from the state law's perspective that I have not made any mistake. The book is about 200 pages. It goes into much more detail It's got a lot of footnotes and explanation in there. And it will have all of the templates for the Islamic will, template for affidavit, template for living will or health directive. It will have all the worksheet for collecting the information on your assets and liabilities and debt. Everything is in there in one place. And that one, hopefully, within the human reason, will not have any mistake. If there are a mistake in there, because we are all human. But at least it had been reviewed by many, many people, and we made sure there are only few human error in there.
So it's almost time for Salah. I think there's a question from a sister written there on your desk, on your table. Maybe you can answer that.
Does it cover the state of New Jersey, your book?
I was reading the wrong side. It says the chair is kept near the elevator for a blind person. Sister, please respect this response and do not take this chair. Jazakallah khair. And I didn't think that was relative to the Islamic will. But then I did find something written in here. A third of the property can be given to someone who is not legal heir, can inherit that property according to Islamic law. That is correct. This 1/3 also has the condition that it can be given to non-Muslim or people of the book. That is incorrect. You can give 1/3 to anyone, Muslim, non-Muslim, people of the book, and anything. There is no restriction. And sister, if you know something, please give me the reference, because I'm a student. I like to learn. I did not find anything that restrict that 1/3 to be given to anyone. Yes, you can give it to. The only restriction is that it should be 1/3, no more. And the second restriction is it should not be given to those people who are already getting a share according to the Islamic law of inheritance. Jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. استووا تراصوا اعتدلوا. Straighten the lines, fill in the gaps. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. يوم نحشر المتقين إلى الرحمن وفدا ونسوق المجرمين إلى جهنم وردا لا يملكون الشفاعة إلا من اتخذ عند الرحمن عهدا وقالوا اتخذ الرحمن ولدا لقد جئتم شيئا إدا تكاد السماوات يتفطرن من فوقهن وتنشق الأرض وتخر الجبال هدا أن دعوا للرحمن ولدا وما ينبغي للرحمن أن يتخذ ولدا إن كل من في السماوات والأرض إلا آتي الرحمن عبدا لقد أحصاهم وعدهم عدا وكلهم آتيه يوم القيامة فردا إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات سيجعل لهم الرحمن ودا فإنما يسرناه بلسانك لتبشر به المتقين وتنذر به قوما لدا وكم أهلكنا قبلهم من قرن هل تحس منهم من أحد أو تسمع لهم ركزا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. أولم ير الذين كفروا أن السماوات والأرض كانتا رتقا ففتقناهما وجعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي أفلا يؤمنون وجعلنا في الأرض رواسي أن تميد بهم وجعلنا فيها فجاجا سبلا لعلهم يهتدون وجعلنا السماء سقفا محفوظا وهم عن آياتها معرضون وهو الذي خلق الليل والنهار والشمس والقمر كل في فلك يسبحون وما جعلنا لبشر من قبلك الخلد أفإن مت فهم الخالدون كل نفس ذائقة الموت ونبلوكم بالشر والخير فتنة وإلينا ترجعون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك
السلام عليكم Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah amma ba'd. Let me just say thank you to Dr. Majid. He spent from Maghrib until now giving a presentation on Islamic wills, and he has written a book on this topic. He had trained some of our community members, brothers and sisters, in the past, a couple of years ago, and this is some additional work that he has done that he has presented to us. Very, very informative and very important also, because we all must, it's an Islamic obligation, have an Islamic will. So we thank him for that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him long life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him so he can continue that kind of work. Tomorrow he has another session after Salatul Dhuhr with school teachers. So inshallah our teachers in our various schools inshallah will benefit from that presentation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasul al-kareem wa ba'd. I would also thank our doctor that he came along. I just want to add one thing, is that if you look at the organization, mostly non-Muslim organization, they are all mostly benefiting from the wills of the people. And if you go, a lot of people put in their will a portion of their wealth to go to the local causes, their masjid, their in that case their churches, synagogue and all that. In our case it will be masjid, school and that. So brothers who are contemplating, in Islam, Shaykhna will tell you up until 1/3 you can do, but some portion inshallah ta'ala. This, as the Muslim community takes roots in this country, inshallah we will be here for millennium and millennium, this will be a very important aspect. If all of us include a portion, that will give the wealth which will come eventually to these centers and be strong. So contemplate about that. Now I'm coming to the other cause. Brothers, we have roughly about $200,000 in the account. If you don't get commitment from Qarz Hasana, then the bad news I'm going to give you that we will have to put some work on hold. So I've been on the 21st. The school have sent a request to the parents. I know I am a parent. I have three students doing in the university, one doing masters. I have daughters in An-Nur. I am feeling the same pain as you are. But I also realize that this is not an option. This has to be done and the school has to come. So brothers, inshallah, next time you see me in the corridor, reach out to your friends and families far in this. But I'm telling you, a month from now, I may come back and tell you from so and so date, we are asking this contractor, and this contractor to stop the work. And I don't think we want to do that. Jazakumullah khair, we are in the final stretch. If all of us do small portion, inshallah, this will be done. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.